Don't mind me. Just trying to break the lock. Still needs some work. Well, I guess this is supposed to be our fancy HQ here. It seems a little basic to me, but Simon seems to have faith in it, so I guess I'll be investigating here for the day. So, let's see what we can find.
Charles chauffeured the troop over to Simon's new headquarters towards the far end of the city. He pulled into an empty lot where everyone looked out their windows to see what kind of building Simon had purchased. Simon simply kept his nose in a book while Charles parked the car, everyone in the back seat eager to get out and explore. Morgan, Azrail, and London all quickly ran up to the large steel door that creaked with neglect. Azrail banged his fist on the siding, causing a booming echo to resonate throughout the lot.
This just looks like some old shitty warehouse.
Simon finally put his book down and met the others, reaching around in his coat pocket for the warehouse keys.
I told you not to expect much. I still can't believe you all thought I would have purchased some state-of-the-art HQ. I get it. I've got money. But come on. I'm not going to purchase something that's going to tip everyone off of my secretive anti-government investigations. Besides, this will only be a temporary setup, so if you're really that discouraged, you can simply wait a year or two. Except for you gentlemen, that is. You will not get to see the pinnacle of Salem.
London paused from dusting off his socks, glancing up at Simon's smug look of amusement.
What's Salem?
Morgan stood next to London, crossing her arms and trying to appear cool.
That would be the name of our agency. Pretty dope, huh?
Azrail stared off at the tangerine sky and watched the sun sink below the horizon as he spoke to the empty lot.
Well, why'd you call it Salem?
Simon finished undoing the chains on the warehouse door, sliding it open to reveal a vacant den of old equipment.
It's a long story.
Everyone gathered around the inside, taking note of how muted and still the building was. There were a number of crates stacked up in different clusters and a large row of metal tables holding computers. Various piles of forgotten equipment were neatly placed among the many crates and metal shelves. The space was fairly clean, but that didn't stop there from being clouds of dust particles drifting under the amber lights that teetered from the ceiling.
Everyone take a seat, start up your computer, and get as much info as you can about our culprit. Morgan can help you log onto the database.
London rested his arm on the back of the brown folding chair, tilting his head back to face Simon.
It seems we're on the hunt for someone capable of technical manipulation. There are a few known abilities that can cause technical interference. Certainly not a common ability to possess.
Simon slowly paced forth, rubbing his protracted chin.
Right. I feel like possession shouldn't be out of the question, although it's quite rare to fuse one's body with inorganic material. The most likely ability would be some form of technokinesis. Try searching for known telekinetics and electrokinetics.
Right away, Chief.
They all diligently worked through the night, taking breaks periodically. Azrail passed out a few times. However, London was very used to staying up late researching, and had no problem keeping up with the others. All he needed was some food and some kind of drink to keep him energized. He eventually realized it would be smart to share some of his energy concoctions with Azrail, then that kept him awake for the remainder of their research. Morgan messed around with her tarot cards during her break, trying to get an energy reading while Simon simply took a traditional smoke break and ran scenarios through his mind. By the time they were done researching, they'd found a handful of suspects and locations that might be linked to their culprit. London relayed their findings to Simon, recapping everything they'd found during the night.
Well, we know we're not the only ones who had this guy mess with our tech. Lots of people in the area have reported horrific imagery appearing on their phones, computers, televisions, tablets, even speakers. Now what we really need to figure out is if there's a pattern or motive behind these attacks, and see if any of these people line up perfectly.
Azrail leaned over to London and attempted to speak discreetly.
I feel sorry for any deadbeat who tried to whack it while this guy played his creep show.
Oh man, that's gross.
London held back the urge to laugh with Morgan and simply gave Azrail a slow, squinty pan of the eyes.
As I was saying, There are a few strings of local buildings that were targeted, and some others outside of our district. As far as suspects, we've got a few guys and one woman. Problem is, they're all either in custody or under house arrest, which doesn't give us a whole lot of possible culprits.
What London said gave Simon a dreadful thought that he couldn't shake, but he knew that it was a possibility. He yawned and scratched his cheek. It was almost 5 a.m., and all the windows had become frames of the pitch-black sky outside.
Well, we should all probably head back and get some rest. Tomorrow we'll go visit a few different hotspots and see if we get a bite.
Everyone was fatigued and ready to return home. Simon locked up the warehouse and had Charles drop everyone off. Azrail passed out on the way to the dorms. London had no struggle carrying him in, but was certainly irritated that he couldn't have waited until they got there before passing out. On the way back to Lancaster Manor, Simon had a chat with Morgan about their first day of the investigation.
You know, Morgan, you really know how to pick delinquents. We really ended up making some good headway. And it was kind of nice having extra help for a change.
I know, right? I told you it wouldn't be so bad. Anyways, what are you thinking we do tomorrow?
I think we go set up as much equipment as we can around the area and see if he'll do anything. The more the equipment, the more of a chance he'll mess with it. London said that this guy's dubbed himself the Gremlin a couple times, obviously relating to the old stories about creatures that corrupt technology. It's hard to tell if this guy's trying to push an agenda or just stir up hysteria. Either way, we'll find out tomorrow if this guy's just another punk or someone who means serious harm.
Simon again had that deep, dreadful thought about where this all started, but was snapped back into reality by Morgan.
Question.
Yeah.
You think Taco Grande is still open this late?
Shit, I hope so.
The following afternoon turned out to be quite a disappointment. They spent most of the late morning setting up operations and waiting at a nearby cyber cafe to see if any of their equipment started acting up. They drank their coffees and waited patiently, hours passing by, and not a single disturbance.
Well, guys, looks like it's going to be a long day.
Simon finished the rest of his coffee, tossing the empty cup at the garbage can across the room.
You don't mean...
We're not going anywhere until we know for sure that our guy is not active today.
Simon said, leaning back in his chair.
In that case, I'm gonna get another coffee.
Azrail slinked out of the chair and shuffled over to the counter while Morgan examined the chakra beads on her bracelets. Simon was about to step outside for a smoke when his laptop started blinking, indicating that one of their computers in the area was receiving a foreign signal. Simon quickly sat back down and watched the map as multiple addresses showed sign of interference.
We got one. Multiple, actually.
Everyone gathered around the laptop and watched the signals, while Simon jotted down the address in his notepad.
Alright, now if we want to catch him, we have to get a move on. He could be hiding out at any one of these buildings.
Simon quickly slammed his laptop shut, packing up and making his way to the doors with haste. As the rest of the group swiftly followed suit, Azrail was making bedroom eyes at the youthful male barista who was giving him his frappuccino.
Hey, seem new here, yeah. You know, I couldn't help but notice, but when you turned around, I knew this place sold buns, but whew, what an...
Azzy! Hurry up! We've got to go!
London tugged on the back of his jacket forcefully.
I'm coming, jeez! I just wanted to get the Java I fucking paid for.
Azrail quickly wadded up the receipt he'd just written his number on and threw it behind him at the barista before scooting out the door. Simon and the group were immediately picked up again by Charles, and they rode out to a section of Helsin City known as Skelter's Square. A section that, like most parts of the city, had some very slummy and squalid streets. They studied the various concrete walls around the square as they rode by, staring uneasily at the morbid, vivid graffiti. White faces with gaping black eyes and large sets of teeth gawked at them from afar. Azrail had hung out in various places all over the city, but knew better not to stick around too long in places like Skelter Square. Simon carried this knowledge as well, and although this made him apprehensive about the sting, he knew that they would definitely find a lead by locating the activity. Azrail specifically took note of the dated-looking text of a fading tag that read Ophid, which was sprayed sloppily under what appeared to be an equine skull. Charles parked outside one of the dilapidated buildings on Skinner Street. The building was tall and very abandoned. Piles of metal debris were stacked outside the front, forlorn scrap heaps containing old technology. Metal gates were knocked down and submerged in rainwater that had been blended in with the garbage, creating a dark and oxidized sludge. Simon got out first and carefully surveyed the area around the building. Once they were positive that no danger was present, they emptied out of the car one at a time. They approached the front of the building and noticed a heavy steel door blocked by a debris pile. Simon looked around more and saw a window to the first floor, looking very cracked and fragmented. Everyone else stood puzzled as he slid his fingers around the top half of the pane like he was searching for something. He pressed the window with little effort, causing the whole pane to fall and shatter inside the building. He knocked out the remaining shards with his jacket before slowly slinking over the sill into the building while talking back to the group.
Careful. There's a big pile of glass on the inside.
They all stood baffled for a moment before starting to climb in through the window after Simon. London was the last one to see inside and commented on the interior neglect of the broken down building on his way through.
This sure looks like one nasty derelict.
I've seen worse. At least there's no needles lying around.
Azrail said as he helped London through the window. They slowly made their way out of the empty room and down a trashed hallway filled with broken tile and glass. Once they were almost to the end of the hallway, Simon's equipment started to emit a shrill but oddly quiet frequency.
We're getting really close. Everybody, get your bearings in case.
Simon abruptly ceased his sentence, leaving everyone anxious and confused. As they approached the room of the disturbance, Simon halted in the wait while he quickly peeked around the corner. As he did, Morgan's head peeked right below his, then London right below her. Azrail floated in the air, giving him the ability to see right above Simon's head. Seeing that there was no risk, they entered the room.
Well, he's not here.
Great observation, dog boy. You want a treat?
Shut up, Azzy! This could have been serious!
The room was just a cluttered shamble of wires and technical equipment. What stood out the most was the fact that most of the equipment was fairly modern and clean, as if it had been used recently. Simon bent down and studied the computer and saw it was running normally, without any disturbance.
That's strange. I could have sworn the signal here was still going. Everyone get back out front. I'm going to check the laptop.
Simon's laptop no longer indicated any interference at the building, which they all found very strange. Only Simon knew that this specific place was a hotspot for criminal activity in the area, and had been fearful the entire time that this might have been a setup for them to get mugged. They moved on to a different location. Every building they ambushed held the same result: nothing. After finding nothing but empty buildings and undisturbed equipment, they entered their last hotspot with low hopes. This time, the group found themselves in another abandoned property, a home that had clearly been lived in for a while. The broken for sale sign, covered with overgrown weeds, gave a sign that it probably would be a long time before anyone lived in it again. Surveying the outside once again, they headed to a dingy office room at the back of the house. Sure enough, the computer booted up just fine, without any disturbance.
Shit! This doesn't make any sense. How can one person cause multiple supernatural disturbances remotely? It's impossible. As far as I know, there exists no form of equipment that allows someone to transfer themselves through technology.
Simon paced around trying to come up with answers, while the others were stuck, scratching their heads in confusion. A few minutes passed before Simon stopped moving abruptly. His halt was so sudden that everyone turned to see what made him stop so suddenly.
Yo, Simon, what's wrong?
I've got it.
Huh?
I figured it out. We need to make it to the warehouse. Now.
Followed Simon out of the room and some stray wires sparked faintly. Once everyone was on the computer,
Come on. Do something. Damn it. Been running all over the place. No clues, no Wisp-related activity, no sign of the culprit. Well, there's gotta be something. Can't be from nothing. Oh. Never mind. If Simon dude really knows what he's talking about, then maybe, just maybe, we're one step closer to getting our culprit. Till you see me again, I guess you're just gonna have to wait to find out.